The following is a presentation of 912 Sports. Welcome to On Air with 912 Sports, your number one source for high school sports. With Sean Smoke and Kevin Price. On Air with 912 Sports is brought to you by Coastal Pines Technical College. Go Coastal. Prime South Bank. Find your prime. Robbie Robertson Ford, because Fords are cheaper in the swamp. Gibson Animal Clinic, practical solutions with limited fees. Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, the region's best orthopedic care. And Kim Smoke, licensed realtor with eXp Realty.
It makes sense Prime South Bank would have a great mobile app. Nobody is as mobile as our customers. For a century, they've chased dreams, followed their hearts, took the road less taken, made a new path, taken leaps of faith. At Prime South, offering the latest digital banking, secure pay apps, and new online lending is part of a mobile tradition that goes way back. Life is mobile. So is Prime South. Find your Prime. Member FDIC.
Play it loud and rev it up. Robbie Robertson's got trucks built for tough.
Make your way to Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross, where the deals are bigger than ever. Looking for a stylish midsize car, a spacious SUV, or a truck that performs at work and play? Robbie Robertson wants your vehicle and is paying top dollar. Now is the time to buy. Fords are cheaper in the swamp.
Welcome, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke, publisher of 912 Sports, and we've got a great show for you tonight. I had an opportunity to talk to Coach Justin McDonald of the Wayne County Yellow Jackets, as Wayne County is playing great baseball right now as they get ready to make a deep run in the 4A state playoffs. Plus, Kevin and I will take a look at baseball and soccer from around the 912. So stick around. We'll be right back after these messages. You're watching On Air with 912 Sports.
Gibson Animal Clinic is ready to help with your animals. From cats to dogs to horses, we treat them all. Call on us for grooming, bathing, boarding, and more serious things like surgery, dentistry, spay, neuter, immunizations, heartworm prevention, flea control, complete lab testing, radiology, preventive health care. Call us at 285-7678. Open Saturdays for your convenience. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with reasonable fees. Russell J. Gibson, DVM.
Gibson Animal Clinic, 108 Riverside Drive, Waycross.
Hablamos español en nuestra clínica.
At Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, you don't have to be an athlete to get the region's best orthopedic care. Our board-certified orthopedic surgeons and physicians treat injuries and conditions that affect just about any joint or bone in your body. Plus, we're backed by the support of Southeast Georgia Health System. From fracture repair to joint replacement, Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery will get you moving again. Call 1-855-ASK-SGHS. That's 1-855-275-7447 or visit sghs.org/summit.
Welcome, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke, publisher of 912 Sports, joined tonight by Coach Justin McDonald, head coach of the Wayne County Yellow Jackets. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. Appreciate you having me on.
Man, I appreciate you being on, Coach, and let's just kind of talk a little bit about the Yellow Jackets season, Coach. Last time you guys lost a baseball game was back on February 24th. You lost to Hillgrove. You're 11-0 since then. You beat Ware twice, Pierce twice in that run. But Coach, this is what was astounding to me. You guys have outscored your opponents 101-8 in those 11 games. So you guys have been getting it done. So talk a little bit about that success you guys have been experiencing.
Yeah, coming into the season when the schedule was put together, we pride ourselves, and I know sometimes after the schedule is completed, you look at it and you say, what have I got myself into? And, that was kind of coming into the year with the teams that were on that schedule. And, a lot of those teams that are on our schedule also play a real tough schedule. So you can't necessarily look at records of what they are in their non-region games based on, because they're playing tough schedules too. And, you go back to the Hillgrove game, we went to the Dugout Club tournament and they put us in probably, I would say, one of the toughest brackets, which that's what we wanted when we went up there. And, had a chance. We were up 3 in the seventh inning and gave up 5 to lose that game. So, that was the opportunity to go 3-0 up there. And then, playing the Applins, the Wares, the Jeff Davis, teams of that caliber that's in this area that are always contenders in the playoffs and making runs. So, I necessarily, you look at some of the teams we played, and, we probably, to start off region schedule, we probably started off with on paper with, say, the 2 weakest teams in the region. You scored runs, a lot of runs against them, but you also didn't give up a lot. So, but I think our guys bought into it. And, when you play teams like that, you just try to win each inning and be real good each inning. So, and I think our guys did an outstanding job of doing that. Playing on the road and doing what we need to do at home and get off to that 6-0 start in the region.
Well, Coach, talk about that non-region schedule. I mean, you guys have beat teams like Ware and Pearson we talked about, but you beat Loganville. I mean, you beat some really top flight teams, to get ready for this region schedule. How important is that for your club going into region play?
I think it's very important, and it's to the point. Being in Southeast Georgia, kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily isolated, because there's real good baseball in Southeast Georgia. And I think it's probably one of the most underrated areas for baseball in this state. There's a lot of great baseball players, a lot of great coaches and programs in this area. But when you venture above that Macon line and you start getting up in there, the big thing we take in our program, that we belong in those same conversations with the Loganvilles and the Blessed Trinities and the North Oconys and Cartersville. Wayne County is in that conversation. It's no longer trying to be a part of it. I think our kids understand that we are a part of that. And, it's kind of, you hear people talk about when playoffs come and, people not wanting to come to Wayne County and play, because there's something special about this place come playoff time. And, I'm looking forward to next week when Islands has got a real good team this year. And they're coming in next week, and we have 2 of those 3 at home against them and 2 or 3 against Benedictine at home. And, I don't think our community or our fan base is going to wait to the playoffs to make that place electric. And, it's not like that everywhere. That's the one thing about being in a one county, one school town where people love athletics and people love springtime and love baseball. And, I'm looking forward to it. It's fun when there's 400 or 500 people at a region game and a playoff game. And, you hear other coaches that trying to figure out their seed and so they don't have to come down here, which, that helps. So home field advantage. But again, that schedule is put together every year to test us. And, obviously we've done an outstanding job as the players have and buying into some of the things that we've changed. I know the core values and the culture of our program haven't changed, but, the last 3 years we've been to the quarterfinals and just kicking 2 of those 3 years, lost in game 3s. One year had a 8 or 9-0 lead in game 3 and watch it disappear and lost that game. But, we started doing some things different as far as how we prepare and how we go about our daily business in game days and practice, and, some more mental performance stuff to get our guys, try to get over that hump. Because, quarterfinals are good. And, I don't want it to sound selfish or arrogant or whatever, but, that's the standard here to get to the quarterfinals. What we do after that is what we're chasing. And, I don't think anything less than getting to it and winning it is going to be satisfactory this year, because we have a great group of kids, a lot of talent in that locker room. And, they break it down every day. When they break it down in the weight room or practice or games, they're breaking it down on state champs. And, we're preaching the visualization of believing that and understanding that it's a reality, can happen.
Well, Coach, I've seen you guys play a couple of times this year, and one of the things that impressed me is you guys can win several different ways. You can win with pitching, you can win with hitting. You beat Ware County in the second time you played them by stealing bases. How is important? I guess that comes from your coaches and yourself to go into a game to know what kind of way you want to try to win a game. I mean, is that something that you guys talk about before you ever play, or is it just kind of comes to you guys as a game evolves?
Well, I think every team's different, and matchups are different on game days and who you play. It's all about matchups, how you match up against that team, and I necessarily I know one of our expectations and standards offensively is we want to try to beat you in multiple fashions, and whether we got to utilize the bunt game or we got to run or I don't think we're going to necessarily sit back and beat it off the wall and out of the park, but we will get that home run or that big double there. But we got to be unique in how we manufacture. We got to be real good on dirt ball reads, or we take pride in getting hit by a pitch and or getting a walk and then stealing a base and getting in score position with no out. So I think that's something that again, one of those changes we make. Everybody wants to look at stats and the average and on base, but we're focusing more on the quality at bat. We have a set of standards of what defines a quality at bat in our program, and it can be a 7-pitch at bat, but you strike out, but you saw 7 pitches. That's a quality at bat in our book. So the kids have bought into it, and the assistant coaches, outside of one of the guys in that locker room, all of them play for me, and the one that didn't play for me played for my brother at Georgia Southwestern. So it's probably some of the same DNA and the same culture stuff. But those guys have come up with this plan, and I just kind of oversee it and let them guys work. And the kids have completely bought into it. I know coming in this year, the big emphasis was, I think last year we had 200 plus free passes and hit by pitches, and somehow ended up in the quarterfinals. So that was a big emphasis of strike percentage and making sure our strike percentage in our bullpens were elevated, and that's carried on into the games. And if you look at our we may not score a lot, but in some of those games, but other teams don't score a lot either. So we ended up winning those games, and our pitching and defense has been outstanding. And if you can pitch and play defense, you can play a long time in the playoffs. And the unfortunate part for us, which is a problem that I think a lot of people will want to have, is we have a ton of talent. I'm telling you, this is my 16th year here, and I think this is the most overall talent we've had in the locker room. And the unfortunate part is I have to make tough decisions, and somebody's going to get left out based on there's a lot of starters that don't get starts, and they're kind of role players from game to game. But again, that's we're preaching, and those kids have bought into accepting the role of that game, and it can change in the second or third inning depending on what's going on. And when you have teams that do that, and they're driven, player driven, and they buy into those roles, and those are the ones that can make a special run and end up at the ultimate goal.
Well, Coach, you guys are sitting there at 17-3 overall, 6-0 in the region. But you mentioned it, the meat of your region is really coming up. You've got Islands, Southeast Bullock, Benedictine still on the schedule. But talk a little bit about this region and what you're going to be facing when you play these guys.
Yeah, there's some good pitching in this region. I know, we'll see Johnny Calloway from Islands next week. I think he's committed to Army. So, a left-hander last year, he gave us fits at their place. And, there's that. I compare Islands to kind of like a Brantley County type team. They play hard and they're tough, and they buy into what they do. And, it's a tough place to play over there as well. So, fortunately, we got them 2 times here, and then obviously the Benedictine series. And, we try not to make nothing bigger than what it is. I think that's one thing, you let the people outside the fences make that BC series something that, if we start buying into that stuff, you'll have it where it's something that if we don't win, the season's over in some people. So we try to keep it focused on, one game at a time. These series, I wasn't a fan when everybody started doing the 3-game series, and then you start doing it, and I'm talking about I wouldn't do it any other way now, because you set the tone and win game 1 in the series, and then you win the series in 2, and then you try to sweep the series in 3. So the Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, especially with the depth of our pitching staff, I think it plays into our favor to be able to play those 3 games. But even Southeast Bullock beat Islands a couple of times last week. So it's kind it's log jammed. It's gonna filter itself out here in the next 3 weeks. And we go Friday to play a tough Savannah Christian team too. So again, that's another team that's on the schedule, and they go play them on the road. And this is our off weekend region, so we've had time to get our guys rested up and get them ready to make this last 10-game run.
Well, Coach, you guys go get better. We'll keep up with you as the season goes on, and hopefully we'll be talking to you for a deep run in the playoffs.
Absolutely. I appreciate all you guys do for high school sports.
All right, appreciate it. That's Coach Justin McDonald of the Wayne County Yellow Jackets. We'll be right back here with more On Air with 912 Sports right after these messages.
Did you know that you can get a head start on your college career and save money at the same time through dual enrollment at Coastal Pines Technical College? Dual enrollment is open to high school juniors and seniors, tuition free. Talk to your high school counselor or visit coastalpines.edu for more information. Coastal Pines Technical College, an equal opportunity institution. Go Coastal!
Welcome, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke, publisher of 912 Sports, joined as always by head writer and podcast host Kevin Price. Kevin, how you doing today?
Good, Sean. Good to be here talking high school spring sports. A little bit for a change. We talked a lot about football and basketball, of course, but good to be talking spring sports here right in the middle of the spring sports schedule.
Let's start off with baseball, Kevin. We've both been busy with baseball games. Got a busy week this week. Got a bunch of games coming up this Friday. Tune in to 912sports.net. You can listen to Glenn's games, Brunswick games, Ware games. So we've got a good variety there on 912sports.net. But we're going to start off talking about the baseball teams. We're not going to talk about all of it. We're going to talk about the ones that are ranked and playing pretty well. We're going to start down in Single A Division II, which is our smallest classification. We're going to talk about the defending state champs, Kevin, Charlton County, sitting there at 13-1 on the season, 8-0, defending state champs, of course, ranked number 2 in the poll that I looked at. But I think you've got some other stuff. But I think Charlton's is on a path to probably play for another state title.
Yeah, it looks that way. I mean, when you get to the playoffs, I mean, certainly you got to have the pitching to win those, best of 3 series. And we saw Charlton do that last year. But really looks like down there in Folkestone these days, they've got a good program. They bring seniors in and out, and move the next guys right on up the chain. And so they just seem to reload every year, and that seems to be what they've done again this year. And down there in Class Single A, looks like they got the depth and everything to go with it. I know some years they've been more pitching oriented and defense oriented. Some years they've had to outslug people, I think. But this year they look like they have another good club and should be right there in the mix.
Yeah, and got enough talent to get it done. Right there in that same Single A Division II, you got Clinch County. They're sitting there at 10-9, 5-6 in the region, but their problem is, Kevin, they got to play in the same region that Charlton does. So, I think Clinch has got a good program. I think they'll make the state playoffs. But again, when you play in that same league with Charlton, you probably playing for second place. But let's switch it up to Single A Division I. We've got Bacon County. Bacon County sitting there at 10-5 on the season. 4-2 in region play with wins over Long and Fitzgerald. So they've got it going over there in Alma.
Yeah, and that's a good region with these other teams you mentioned. Several good baseball programs in that region, but Bacon seems to be playing well. And again, I think particularly in these lower classifications, we're represented in the state polls. Pretty much from the lowest classification, Single A, up to the highest classifications, and it should be a good late spring come baseball season, as far as our teams making the playoffs and having some success. But we're really strong down there, Sean, in the Class A's and the 2A's and so forth, as you can see.
And let's dive right into 2A, Kevin, because that really is our bread and butter. That's where we've got a lot of really, really good baseball teams. We'll go just in alphabetical order here. We'll start off with Applin. Applin sitting there at 10-6, 4-2 on region. Lost to Brantley and to Vidalia, but won those series. So they're sitting there, battling in a very, very tough region, which includes Toombs, which includes Vidalia, which includes Pierce. So they're going to have to play great baseball to be successful. But Applin, another good team.
Yeah, and you referred to that other poll I was referencing. I was representing that coaches box Georgia poll. It seems to be fairly accurate, from the start of the season. So I've kind of been referring to that on some of our baseball broadcasts. And of course, I think some of our area teams might be a little more in a favorable light in these polls as well, which is maybe another reason I do it. Of course, the polls will go out the window when we start the postseason because you got to win on the field. But you mentioned a couple of teams in that coaches box poll. Appleton 7th, Toombs 10th. So right there, you got two of the top 10 teams in the state, according to that poll, in that same league. And that's a real good league in other sports as well. And it sure is in baseball too.
Dropping down, we got Brantley County. Brantley, struggled a little bit, sitting there at 8-10, 3-3 in the region. But hey, they're the only team that's beat the Charlton County Indians. Charlton County 13-1. That one loss is to Brantley County, and they also beat Coffee. Coffee ranked, high in 5A. So Brantley's got a really good team. They just got to get it put together as they get into deeper into region play and see where they can, see where they can end up there. See if they can go in as a 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, seeding there. And then you've got the Jeff Davis Yellow Jackets also in this region, or in this classification in a different region. But Kevin, this is what I find interesting. The Jeff Davis Yellow Jackets, who are defending state champs, sit there, or not defending state champs, but won a state championship a couple of years ago, are sitting there. They were 0-7, and they are now 10-7. So they ripped off 10 in a row. And oh, by the way, they just beat the 7A defending state champs, Lowndes County, earlier this week by a final score of like 4-3. So great job. And Kevin, you had a great opportunity to talk to one of their stars, Duke Stone, who's our MVP for our latest 912 magazine.
Yeah, you let me right into kind of talking what I was going to talk about in terms of their schedule, but I'll start with Duke Stone. He is the MVP, featured spotlight athlete in our latest edition of 912 Sports Magazine. Of course, that is a baseball edition, and he's on the cover. We knew when we did that story that he might not pitch this year for Jeff Davis. Had pretty serious arm surgery in the offseason, and that's going to keep him limited with his rehab schedule. If he were to get back at all, it sounded like from the get-go that it would be very late in the season, maybe right on the edge of the playoffs starting into the regular season, start of the playoffs. But not to get into all that, but that's part of the reason that non-region schedule was loaded up like they did over there in Jeff Davis. They knew they had two hosses on the mound, Duke Stone being one of those that they could throw in a lot of those non-region games. So they loaded up the schedule and schedule some heavyweights from various classifications, and then turns out, they didn't even have one of their top pitchers. But Sean, if you look deeper into that schedule, which I know we've already talked about, they lost one-run ball games too. It wasn't like they were competitive. They lost 3-2, 4-3, whatever it might be. So you had to feel like if Stone was pitching, it maybe at least a couple of those go their way. But I felt like when they got into the region schedule, which is the most important thing, they would be ready to go. And obviously they've done that, reeling off a bunch of wins. And put an asterisk by that Lowndes win. I don't know who Lowndes pitched in that ball game, but they are loaded in Georgia's top classification and are one of the favorites for the state championship. So even if they pitch their fourth or fifth guy, he's pretty good. And for Lowndes to beat for Jeff Davis to beat Lowndes, period, is a big win.
Yeah, pretty impressive there. Stick around, sports fans. We'll be right back after these messages. You're watching On Air with 912 Sports.
At Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, you don't have to be an athlete to get the region's best orthopedic care. Our board-certified orthopedic surgeons and physicians treat injuries and conditions that affect just about any joint or bone in your body. Plus, we're backed by the support of Southeast Georgia Health System. From fracture repair to joint replacement, Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery will get you moving again. Call 1-855-ASK-SGHS. That's 1-855-275-7447 or visit sghs.org/summit.
It makes sense Prime South Bank would have a great mobile app. Nobody is as mobile as our customers. For a century, they've chased dreams, followed their hearts, took the road less taken, made a new path, taken leaps of faith. At Prime South, offering the latest digital banking, secure pay apps, and new online lending is part of a mobile tradition that goes way back. Life is mobile. So is Prime South. Find your Prime. Member FDIC.
Then you also got Pierce sitting there at Double-A, sitting there at 8-8 right now. Split the series with Brantley. Only played 2 games. I think one of those games got pushed because of weather, so we'll see who wins that one. But Pierce going to be in the mix here for one of them playoff spots as well. Then that moves us on to 3A. We've got Lone County. Lone County sitting there 10-6 on the season, 3-2. In region, but they started the season 5-0 with sweeps of both the Pierce team and MCA. MCA coming off a really good year last year, not having the same year that they had last year, but still a good baseball program as well.
Yeah, no question, and they've got a stud pitcher too as well that you maybe know a little bit more about than me, but he's headed to Georgia Tech, I think, and he's obviously going to give them a chance in any playoff series to get one, and they've already got to get only get one more in the best of 2 or 3 situations. So Pierce in good shape there, pitching wise, at least with him.
Yeah, that Cole Roy, or who you're talking about, going to be going to Tech. After 2 years, he's just a junior, so he will be back for his senior season there in Pierce County. Moving on up to 4A, we've already talked to Coach Justin McDonald. So you saw that interview earlier in the show. Wayne just killing it right now. The last 11 games, outscoring their opponents 101 runs to like 8, which is just unheard of. But they're tearing things up. And then we move into 5A. We've got Coffee County 15-4, 7-2. Lost to Ware this past Tuesday night, 1-0, and one of the best pitch games I've seen in a long time for high school baseball. Both guys did a really great job. Really hated to see for either one of those kids to lose. But our guy Evan Joyner that we talked about, our player of the month, gets another shutout against a quality, opponent there in Coffee. And Kevin, you go back and look at Coffee's last series with Statesboro. They scored 13, 11, and 13 in all 3 of those games, double-digit numbers. And then Joyner comes in. It just throws a masterful job and shuts these guys out. Strickland was, he gave up an unearned run that was basically on an error that gave Ware the win. But really 2 great pitchers. But that's going to be a huge series between Ware and Coffee this Friday. Got a doubleheader coming up, so check it out on 912sports.net. But again, our boy Evan Joyner making us look smart there, choosing him for player of the month.
Well, when you look at the stats, I mean, obviously they kind of, get your attention. He's been real consistent on the mound for Ware, since day one, and just seems to have gotten a little better with every start. I know he had, some shutouts already before we did that story last week, but he's added a couple of more, I think, since. And so, with him, you got a chance to win a ball game, and I hate to gear everything toward the playoffs, but you feel pretty good about getting a win with him on the mound, and then you just got to find one more. But the thing about Evan, as you know from that story, Sean, and watching them day in and day out doing Gator baseball over there in Waycross, not only is he a good pitcher, he's a good hitter too. So he's helping the Gators both offensively and on the mound. So he's a guy that certainly deserved that player of the month honor just with everything he's done for that team. I think he's played multiple positions, hitting several spots in the lineup. So he's kind of getting the job done all the way around.
Yeah, and Ware, like I said, sitting there at 12-6, 6-1 in that region. Tough region. Still got to play Greenbrier. Coffee's already got Greenbrier. That series is under their belt. They lost that series, but they did win one game and had game 3 in hand. Kevin, it was a 2-1 loss that went 9 innings, and Coffee, fought tooth and nail. I thought they were going to be able to get that one to win that series with Greenbrier. It didn't happen. But now, like I said, they're right there in the mix. These next 5 games for Ware County, the doubleheader against Coffee and all the 3-game series with Greenbrier will determine a lot about where they fall in the seeding as far as what seed they are going into the state playoffs. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But definitely check out that doubleheader tomorrow. Friday there at Coffee with Ware and Coffee. But we're going to move on up to your territory, Kevin. 6A. We're going to start off with the Brunswick High Pirates sitting there at 12-8, 8-3. Region record right there. Lost a 1-0 heartbreaker here Tuesday night to South Effingham on a walk-off kind of situation. They've got the city championship out there looming. But sitting there at 8-3, man, they've got. You don't want to say they got a playoff spot sewn up, but it looks pretty good for them right now.
Well, the Pirates are working on one, that's for sure. They're playing good baseball right now, getting pretty good starting pitching, truthfully, and they were supposed to have a good hitting team from the start, and haven't seen that consistently, but we're starting to see that a little bit more, and they're right in the heart of their region schedule right now. A couple of big series coming up, of course. They got to finish this series against South Effingham first, Sean. That's even at 1 apiece. The Pirates won the opener you alluded to the 1-0 game, this week as well. That's going to be big, possibly in the playoff picture in terms of who gets that head-to-head if we go to tiebreakers. So that's a big game 3. And then, of course, the Pirates, another big series next week against Effingham. Right now, I would say the Pirates are playing a little better ball than him, but I was impressed with Effingham when I saw them the first time a couple of weeks ago against Glenn. And then, of course, the big one for the Pirates will be to round out their region schedule. They'll get done a little bit earlier than everybody else because they started a week earlier, but it is that city championship matchup against Glenn Academy. And, of course, I guess you maybe want to talk about Glenn. They got off to a sluggish start in region play after a great non-region portion of the schedule. Has some adversity, some guys being suspended, and lost 2 of 3 to Effingham. But since that third game, they've been on a roll, have swept, Lakeside and Grovetown as they should have. And then they're off this week, and then they get right into the teeth of their region schedule. That theirs was kind of divided in even proportions, 3 series on each side of the break there from region action this week. It'll be next week against South Effingham, the following week against Brunswick, and then the grand finale against Evans. And who knows what's going to be at stake, but certainly maybe one of the top 2 seeds for the Red Terrors could be at stake, certainly in those final 2 series against Brunswick and Evans.
Yeah, that's exactly what it came down to last year. Can we remember that Evans series was huge? And like I said, Glenn sitting there 15-4, 7-2 in region play. Again, still got that big series with Evans, still got that big series with Brunswick out there, but sitting there in pretty good shape. South Effingham 12-8, 4-4 in region play. We talked about the big 1-0 win on the walk-off earlier this week. But man, you're right, Kevin. That's a huge game this Friday night at the couch. We will have it on 912sports.net. Kevin Thomas will be on the call for that game, so tune in Friday if you're a Brunswick High Pirates fan, because they really need your support. Need to get that one there to help with that seeding come playoff time. But that'll move us into 7A. Kevin, we've got Camden County. Camden's a very, very young team sitting there 5-11, 3-3 in region. I looked at their roster, Kevin. These guys only got 2 seniors on their team. They got a new coach over there, so they're building. But having a pretty decent season right now, sitting there 3-3 in region. And I believe their series with Lowndes is already over. So they've got some opportunities there. Maybe they sneak in the playoffs there as a 4 seed this year. We'll see how things play out. But again, a young team over there for the Wildcats.
Yeah, I think they got a chance to land anywhere in that playoff pecking order right now, but just depending on how it all shakes out. But they are having a pretty good year overall, and I think maybe the future is bright for them if they can keep some guys in the program and keep bringing guys in. And Camden should be good at everything, not just football. And we saw them make the improvement in basketball this year, and obviously they're always good in wrestling. So I don't want to get too far off track there, but Camden needs to be good at baseball.
See if they can come around. Got Richmond Hill sitting there 8-9, 1-2 in region play. They play in that same region with the defending state champs Lowndes. They play in Camden's region. Really not the classic year you think of for Richmond Hill. Now, they did take 2 out of 3, I think, from Brunswick earlier in the season. But again, they got to get region wins if they want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think they've got some decent pitching, I think, from what I understand, and they hopefully will get one of those 4 playoff spots in that league. And, Richmond Hill, again, traditionally has been good, and hopefully they can continue to rock and roll. But they're going to need to knock some some region wins to lock up a playoff berth for sure.
Yeah, and they don't really have the pitching they've had the last couple of years when you talk about at Georgia, kid is at Georgia
right.
Tech. I mean, they've had some studs. So
yeah, they have.
But we'll see how this this region play shapes up. But that's going to do it for baseball. We're going to take a quick break and come back here and talk a little bit about soccer. But you're watching On Air with 912 Sports. We'll be right back.
Play it loud and rev it up. Robbie Robinson's got trucks built for tough.
Make your way to Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross, where the deals are bigger than ever. Looking for a stylish midsize car, a spacious SUV, or a truck that performs at work and play? Robbie Robertson wants your vehicle and is paying top dollar. Now is the time to buy. Fords are cheaper in the swamp.
High schoolers, did you know that you can get a head start on your college career and save money at the same time through dual enrollment at Coastal Pines Technical College? Dual enrollment is open to high school juniors and seniors, tuition free. Talk to your high school counselor or visit coastalpines.edu for more information. Coastal Pines Technical College, an equal opportunity institution. Go Coastal.
Welcome back, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke. He's Kevin Price, and we're going to talk a little soccer right here in the 912. Kevin, you did the research for soccer, so I'm going to throw it to you and kind of defer to you. But let's talk about some of the teams that are performing well on the pitch here in the 912.
All right, let's do that. I mean, I actually kind of looked at two polls, Sean, just to kind of give a frame of reference here. And one poll a little more favorable to South Georgia than the other one. And I'll just leave it at that. Who's going to be right and wrong in the end, we'll see. But I figured we'd go with the one that's a little more inclusive instead of exclusive. They're both pretty close, though. Don't let me lead you down the wrong path. But don't forget, of course, obviously we got boys and girls soccer. So we'll go through the boys rankings first. Nobody ranked from Southeast Georgia, at least, in our coverage area, our true coverage area in 7A. But in 6A, we do have the usual suspects. Number one, of course, Glenn Academy, ranked 7th in this poll with a 13-1 record. And just outside the top 10, though, one of their rivals in the region, South Effingham, also with just one loss on the season. So two good teams there that could make some noise from Southeast Georgia in one of our higher classifications in the state. Drop on down to 5A, though, Sean. It looks like the Bradwell Institute Tigers are having a good season, ranked in the top 10 of this poll at number 9. And then also in 3A, we have Lone County making an appearance. They're in the top 10, ranked 10th, I believe, in the Class 3A poll with a 9-2-2 record. And, Sean, I'll get you to comment on this league, Region 2 AA. Maybe we should start calling this league the SEC of Southeast Georgia, because it seems like in every sport it's competitive. And I know a lot of these schools and their pedigrees, and they take all the sports seriously, and they really put a lot of stock in what they do and take a lot of pride in it. But Toombs County actually ranked number 1 at 12-2, Appling number 4, Pierce right behind the Pirates at number 5, and then just outside that top 10 at 12 is Jeff Davis with almost double-digit wins. They're 9-3-1 at the start of the week. So a pretty good league there when you look at some of these teams in the rankings, and then I know jam-packed region standings as well.
And you think about it, Kevin, you go through it. I mean, you talked about Toombs. I mean, Toombs was good in football, made a deep run, played for a state title in basketball. So here they are, in soccer ranked high. You talk about Pierce defending state champions in football, Applin, who we thought was going to play for a football, state title, and Jeff Davis. I mean, they're, great in baseball. They've got 2 or 3 state titles in the last 4 years. So, I mean, these guys are perennial powerhouses, and it doesn't really matter what sport it is when it comes to 2A. Championships most of the time comes through the 912 for sure.
Maybe it just means more, Sean. I don't know, but
maybe.
And then we'll round out the boys. Talk about Atkinson County. They had a good year last year on the soccer pitch, as you like to call it. They're Class A Division 2, but they are ranked in the top 5, coming in at number 4 actually as we get ready to flip the calendar from March to April. So they're 7-3-1 at last count. So they're poised for possibly another run in single A. Let's go on to the girls, Sean. In 7A now, we do have Richmond Hill. Right. They've been strong a lot like some of the other spring sports in soccer, boys and girls, but they are ranked 4th there in Class A. And truthfully, as I look at it here, that's the lowest ranking by any Southeast Georgia team in our coverage area, and it just so happens to be in 7A, which we know is flooded with great schools out of Metro Atlanta.
And I mean, listen, they're good year in and year out. I was kind of surprised that the boys weren't ranked in 7A because they've had some really good seasons over the past. But the girls being ranked there, no surprise. I mean, they'll make some noise when the playoffs start.
And then going to 6A, of course, the perennial team in this area, Glenn Academy, trying to work on another region championship and see how far they can go in the state in Class 6A. They are at number 9. In Class 3A is where we find our next ranked team in this poll. That's Long. So they having a good season, boys and girls. Long with 11 wins, 2 losses, 1 tie. In 2A, we have Pierce County ranked in the top 5 at number 5. They're 11-2 at the start of the week. And then down in Class A Division 2, McIntosh County Academy, which had a great run last year. Not the best overall record, I think, though. They're getting, a lot of credit for maybe their schedule and who they played and some of their past history. But for what it's worth, though, they are over 500 and they're ranked 8th down there in the smallest classification in the state.
Right. And you remember last year, Kevin, our last issue of the year, we did with Maddie McMahon on the cover. I mean, she lettered in like 85 sports down there at McIntosh. Got a sister doing, I think, pretty much the same thing now. But so they have had some success. I believe they were a quarterfinal. They might have been even semifinals
right,
last year. So no surprise there that McIntosh is getting a little bit of love in the polls, and who knows, they could be right back there again this year to make another deep run. So.
And what I like about soccer, Sean, well, I guess it's really the same in every sport, but the Atlanta area certainly thinks they dominate Southeast Georgia. I mean, there's some soccer hubs now especially in that South Metro Atlanta area. That's not to dismiss the rest of the metro area, but I like it when they have to get on that Bluebird and come down here to Southeast Georgia. Now, they usually fare pretty well, but sometimes they get shocked, and hopefully that'll happen again this year.
Keep up with the soccer, as it goes into the playoffs, and keep everybody posted. But one of the things we want to mention, Kevin, before we go off air tonight, is our big All Sports Award show that's going to be coming up. It's going to be coming up the last Thursday of April. But everybody go ahead and mark your calendars. We'll be handing out some hardware to all the sports with the exception of football because they get their own show. But we'll be giving away, a lot of stuff, not only in big schools, but in small schools and boys sports and girls sports. So always a great show, and looking forward to putting those winners together here over the next 30 days.
Yeah, no question. I mean, the football award show that's basically our fall award show. Always hard to come up with the winners in that one, which is good for us because that means we're having good football, which we do down here in Southeast Georgia. But when you really get into all these classifications, some sports having the boys and the girls, we talked about, that one league being an SEC type league. Who knows who might be our small school players of the year in that league. So, just with that league alone, you sometimes have some tough choices. But choices are never easy, but a lot of the kids are going to get honored in everything but football. So it is a big show for us.
Hey, that's going to wrap up the show. Appreciate everybody watching On Air with 912 Sports. We'll be back next Thursday. But until then, may all your check marks go in the win column. Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Gibson Animal Clinic is ready to help with your animals. From cats to dogs to horses, we treat them all. Calling us for grooming, bathing, boarding, and more serious things like surgery, dentistry, spay, neuter, immunizations, heartworm prevention, flea control, complete lab testing, radiology, preventive health care. Call us at 285-7678. Open Saturdays for your convenience. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with reasonable fees. Russell J. Gibson, DVM.
Gibson Animal Clinic, 108 Riverside Drive, Waycross.
Hablamos español en nuestra clínica.
This has been a presentation of 912 Sports.